Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is Ted with Forward the Line. Appreciate those of you that took a look at the other videos we have up. And please like and follow if you would be so kind. And also rumble rant below if you like what I have to say or you just want to yell at me and call me an idiot. Whatever floats your boat. Also, please check us out at X at Forward the Line, FORWARD the line. And also check out our website, forwardtheline.co. We got some apparel and some goodies, got some more coming, and also a breakdown of what exactly we stand for and what our mission is here at Forward the Line. Doing something a little bit different. Got my little Trump duck and microphone, trying to be a little bit more professional, do something a little different here. Again, thank you guys, and let's go ahead and jump right on in. From NBC News, Trump officials pit Zelensky on U.S. owning 50% of Ukraine's rare earth minerals. The Trump administration indicated U.S. troops could be deployed to provide security in connection with the minerals if there is a peace deal with Russia, sources told NBC News. The Trump administration has suggested to Ukraine that the United States be granted 50% ownership of the country's rare earth minerals and signaled an openness to deploying American troops there to guard them if there's a deal with Russia to end the war. Rather than pay for the minerals, the ownership agreement would be a way for Ukraine to reimburse the United States for the billions of dollars in weapons and support it provided to Kiev since the war began in February 2022. Okay, so I don't know if I like this. This seems very empire esque, very vassal state esque, that we are getting more involved with Ukraine, more so than we already are. It's bad enough that we gave them billions of dollars and we've been funding a war effort that should have never happened to begin with. That's one thing. But to then make a long-standing deal after the war ends, if it ends, hopefully it ends, just seems like it's following in the footsteps of the reason we went to Ukraine, anyways. Which, if you don't know, around 2012-ish, during the Obama administration, there were people that went on late night talk shows that were gloating about how we were involved with the election of Zelensky and how people who are powerful want access to minerals and to the economy and of Ukraine, and having a basic border state controlled, puppeteered by the United States against Russia, right on their border. It's not the right move to make. Now we could use the minerals for sure, especially with the idea of bringing home industry and trying to be the world leaders of AI and IT. So we need those minerals to kind of overtake the chip market and the products that are necessary for IT development, away from other countries to bring stuff home. And that's a Trump goal, and I agree with that goal. And those are good things. But to be involved with Ukraine after the war is my problem, because we were a part of it starting because of Biden's egregious lack of leadership during his tenure, and Putin, being the monster that he is, seeing full well that America was weak, going in and basically taking Ukraine out. I mean, they tried to say that Ukraine was winning the fight, and I think most of us know that that was bullshit. And the only reason Ukraine even has gotten this far, with large casualties, is because we've been funding them, and we need that money at home. We need, $700 for North Carolina flood due to the hurricane, 700 something dollars for the West Coast after the LA fires. I mean, it's pitiful what we're doing for our own people, and yet we give billions of dollars and now making deals and halting or holding up. There are individuals that would like to see the end of the war be held up, which I am very libertarian on this fact that we should never be involved in other people's nonsense, right? We focus on America first, and our foreign policy should be directed more on the benefit of the American people and not the benefit of an elite coterie of individuals that are making money and that want control and power over that region, right, of the world. So I'm a little bit bummed by this, right? It seems like, maybe it's a big ask that Trump is doing. Maybe that is that's the plan, kind of like what he's doing with the Gaza Israel war, and so maybe it's a planned chess move, you could say, and if it is, great. But I think that the end of the war needs to come first before we even discuss repayment, before we even, because they're their own state. And maybe we can set up a deal with them where we become an exclusive trade partner of the rare earth minerals, and they continue to do their farming and their food production, and we get the minerals from them exclusively. So we're still supporting their economy, but we're also getting what we need, and that becomes an agreement. And that way, our foot is out of their property, and we don't have leverage over them that could be used for extortion. Not saying Trump would, but if they set up an agreement like that, and then the next president happens to be a Democrat, hopefully not, unless the Democrats get their shit together, then that gives a very open door to extortion, right? Because we had this deal with them, and if we, if, for instance, if Ukraine don't do this, if you don't do this, we're gonna cut off our deal with ABC, and you have to do that because we buy we're getting your rare earth minerals. We use it as leverage to get them to do what we want. Is my point. Right, and we don't need that. That is Roman Empire-esque, vassal state type shit, and I don't want to be a part of that. I'm sure a lot of you don't want to be a part of that. So I'm not very happy about this. And what's funny though is what leads me to believe that this is a big ask is JD just bashing the European nations the other day, and even I think it was the Prime Minister of Germany even had a fit about insulting him about how he handled that meeting, which was very had a lot of tension in it to begin with, and then Hegseth coming out and saying that he believes that there's going to be concessions on both sides, which is obvious. It's realistic that would be the case. Of course, Ukraine's not going to get everything they want, and of course, Russia's not either. But what's probably going to have to happen, and you could argue that Russia doesn't deserve it, but Crimea and the Donbass will go to Russia. They want their access to the warm water ports, and they also have that large military base over, I believe it's Crimea. So they have reason to want that area, and if that needs to be a negotiation tool to end the war, which is the goal, end the war, then that should be necessary, and Hegseth is just being realistic, right? Because it's a thing in business where I know you have the win-win, lose-lose, right? But there's another thought process that basically states that if you go into a negotiation and one party comes out happy and one party comes out sad, it's a failed negotiation. If both parties go in and they get what they sought for, but they also lose something in return of equal value, per se, then that is a win, right? So we knew this was going to be a problem. Now, what would Russia give up? Maybe it's as bad as them saying, all right, we won't take Kiev. You can retain your independence as a country, which would be awful. And hopefully there's another benefit that comes out of that. Other than that. So I'm just worried that this might lead to something a lot worse. So let's go ahead and move on here. So Bill Burr, this is from Mediaite. Comedian Bill Burr declares fucking billionaires should be put down like rabid fucking dogs. Jesus Christ, man. What happened to Bill Burr? Seriously, who radicalized him to the point where he's repeating leftist talking points like he's an activist of Antifa, right? He was a funny comedian, very funny. I've liked him for a long time, and it just seems like his political views are so out there. Who is telling him? Who's giving him this information that he ends up saying shit like this, right? It's ridiculous. Anyways, comedian Bill Burr said billionaires should be put down like rabid fucking dogs in a rant on his Monday morning podcast. On his podcast, Burr responded to a message from a fan saying she is a mother with a full-time job and she's struggling financially, which is actually pretty fair. It's sad, and unfortunately, a lot of us are struggling these days. And my heart goes out to anybody that is, and I know there's good coming soon. I guarantee it. The amount of people struggle, quote, the amount of people struggling out there because of these fucking billionaires, and they got us all arguing liberal and conservative. We got to stop doing that. I'm so tired of hearing about people going to bed worried and about what's going to happen next week. Burr's comments come just a couple months after Luigi Mangione allegedly shot and killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, sparking intense debate about the healthcare and wealth in the United States, with critics, mainly on the left, expressing similar complaints as Burr did on his podcast. I believe that was on Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, it's right there. Okay. So, listen, the Mangione thing is bad enough because that dude was a father. He had a family, right? He's unfortunately a part of a company like most of big pharma and insurance agencies that are that act despicable. But it's something you have to remember about business is that they're chasing the dollar, right? They're chasing profit, and if it's profitable to have an individual lose, then they're going to advocate for the individual to lose. It doesn't make it right. It actually makes it morally disgusting that a company would do that. But they need to have an incentive to treat people better. And for some reason, United Healthcare did not go that route. But the dude going crazy and shooting him, that's not the way to handle it. It's not the way to handle these things. The best way to handle these things is to utilize the market and to utilize your voice. You don't need violence to change something. I mean, Martin Luther King proved that. Now, there was violence at that time, sure, but his whole mission was through the power of voice and speech, make a change, and that's what happened. A lot of struggle, but it happened nonetheless. Bill basically supporting that, for lack of better terms, is just it's gross, man. It's gross because it's an ignorant way to look at it, right? It makes the assumption that the billionaires themselves are within themselves the problem that's causing all this, which in reality it's a bunch of powerful people from different starting points with an agenda for themselves that unfortunately all combine together to put us in the situation that we're in now, right? So it's not one group. Now, it'd be great if it was, but it's not. And unfortunately, that mindset is very akin to the KKK and black folks, and very akin to Nazis and the Jews, as they say, blaming one group of people for all of our problems, which can be wildly dangerous. So please don't do that. Try and think outside the box. Don't get stuck in a mindset blaming one person for all your problems. It doesn't work on a local level. It doesn't work on a national level. It doesn't work on a world level. It's not the way things go. It's a lot of people with a lot of plans doing a lot of things that culminate to this problem that we're in, all these problems that we're in. So that directing your ire towards that it's not a positive way to deal with it. So he later goes on and talks about calling Donald Trump and this whole thing racist by saying fuck Mexicans. He said Trump's plan, he added, really amounts to a simple message: fuck Mexicans. The left does this consistently, and it really frustrates me because it's like an extension of Marxism, in the sense that during Marxism it was proletariat and bourgeoisie, right? And it was a class conflict all the time. The left uses this racism as a conflict method to perpetually make themselves victims of oppression. And again, nothing ever comes of it. Like, even the French Revolution was just horrible in the long run. And it might come with radical change, but it never ends up being a good thing. To automatically direct things, especially when you don't have an argument or a good argument, to racism is wildly immature, and it's everywhere in our culture, and we need to get away from that. Like Morgan Freeman said, the best way to stop racism is to stop talking about it. I'm paraphrasing there. And he's absolutely right. I mean, not that it doesn't exist, it will always exist, right? But do you, let me ask you, and comment below if you think this is the case. Do you see racism blatant publicly on an average day? I mean, do you really? Like, is it the problem they make it out to be? The economy and immigration are a problem. Immigration's not because they're brown. They're coming from all over the world through our borders, and it's an economic problem, right? It's an economic problem and a livelihood problem, or general life problem for a lot of people on the border and elsewhere, since we flew people around all over the country under the Biden administration. So it's racism. I don't believe is the problem that it once was, and maybe it's just a beneficial talking point for the left, and people see that, especially who don't pay attention to politics. People see that and from the media and see, oh my God, it must still be a problem. It must still be rampant. Cops are dying. Cops are, or excuse me, cops are killing black men all over the country all the time, which statistically you can look it up. I mean, it is true. It does happen, sure. But I just don't believe it's the biggest problem facing us as a group. And I believe that even though it is a problem, it's being co-opted by a group of individuals that want to use it to better and forward their agenda so that they can get what they want. And that's what it is. And Bill Burr is unknowingly or knowingly doing that. Just that. He's doing just that by forcing these narratives back into the zeitgeist. And maybe it's on purpose. Maybe it's on purpose. To be a little bit conspiracy theory, maybe it's on purpose. I don't know. But anyways, he's being an idiot. So let's move on to the next story. This is from Healthline. A little bit different. Exercise break. How long does it take to lose muscle mass? This is important for any of you guys just starting out. You need to be aware that, like I said in my last video, that you need to take breaks to regroup and to rebuild after workouts. It's absolutely crucial. You have to eat right, all that stuff. We talked about it last time. But knowing the details on this, and I learned this myself, even though I had prior experience, I didn't have some of these studies when I was training for this at the time. So anyways, how long is too long? Once you get into a fitness routine, you might worry about losing your progress. If you take time off, however, taking a few days off from exercising is actually good for you and can help you reach your fitness goals in the long run. On the other hand, taking too long of a break means you'll start to lose muscle and cardio fitness you've gained. How quickly this loss happens depends on several factors, including your pre-break fitness levels. In most cases, you won't lose much strength if you take 3 to 4 weeks off, but you may start to lose your cardio endurance within a few days. So I'm going to skip over the trained athletes because no offense to anybody, but I'm sure most of the people watching this might be in good shape, might be wanting to get in good shape, but you're probably not a full-blown athlete. If you are, then these apply to you for sure, but it might be a little bit more beneficial for you, or you could extend the time a little bit because you are an athlete. You operate every day, and you do it, likely for either a living or you do it as a continuous hobby. So for non-athletes, if you don't work out about 5 times a week or haven't been exercising regularly for long, you probably fall into the non-athlete category. Like athletes, you can take about 3 weeks off without seeing a noticeable drop in your muscle strength. According to a 2012 study, which is by the NIH, by the way, you shouldn't take off longer than that if you can avoid it. Non-athletes are more likely than athletes to lose their progress during periods of inactivity. Kind of a duh, but still, it's good to know in case you don't. 2010 study found that both athletes and non-athletes can reach their peak fitness levels more quickly after a break, which is exactly what I was saying, than when they first began training. Which is, it's great because, you plateau. So if you give yourself a break, it might help alleviate a little bit of the plateau that happens. So the muscle, if you take a few weeks off, your muscle strength won't take much of a hit unless you're older, which we'll get to. However, your cardio, you lose cardio or aerobic fitness more quickly than muscle strength. And this can start to happen in just a few days, according to a 2012 study. In athletes, endurance decreases between 4 and 25% after a 3 to 4 week break in cardio. Beginners may find their aerobic fitness back to zero after a 4-week break, which is longer than you probably should be taking a break anyways, honestly. But things come up in our lives. We get busy, and we get busy, and it gets difficult with work, with your family, with other things in your life, your family, all that stuff. It can get a bit hectic, right? But you need to do your best to keep a routine in place, and stick to it. But during that routine, definitely try to give yourself some breaks. Definitely try and eat right. It's a lifestyle change. It's not just, I mean, and in the beginning, it might take a lot of effort just to get one of those things. But once you get moving, it needs to become a lifestyle change, right? It's your life now to stay healthy, which I'm sure a lot of you know, but it's hard to do. It's hard to do. All right, so that's so your age and sex can play a role in how quickly you use fitness. It becomes increasingly harder to maintain muscle mass and strength during a break. Older people experience a bigger drop in fitness. Now, I believe it's the same by with cardio as well. One study from 2000 grouped participants by age, 20 to 30-year-olds and 65 to 75-year-olds, and put them all through the same exercise routine and periods of inactivity. During the 6-month break, the older participants lost strength almost twice as fast as the younger ones. So if you're over, what is that, 65, like I said, we talked about yesterday, it is doable if you're that old to get back in your peaks, or in back in shape, right? But you have to be more aware, more keen. But you might, if you're retired at 65, you might have more time to do that. So it becomes, and like I'm dealing with my family, it becomes a lifestyle change. I cannot advocate that enough. You have to start, get moving, but then everything has to change. Everything has to develop into a healthy mindset. Um, it, it's doable. That's the thing I want to get across. It's doable. But now that you know how long you have in between, it might make it easier for you to structure your routine better. Um, I wanted to share that with you. I'll put the links in the description so you can read the studies if you'd like. They're all linked here from Healthline. Um, yeah, so I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it there. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you. Please, please, please like and follow. And don't forget to comment and check us out at the website. And also follow us on Twitter. And you guys have a good night.